And now to evaluating the enemy. This week, it's Ripon's turn. On offense, Ripon runs a triple option, meaning Lake Forest's front seven will have some extra hard work to do this weekend. Quarterbacked by sophomore Keegan McKenna, who stands at 6'4" and weighs 205 pounds, has attempted 73 passes and 76 rushes this year. Ripon will also utilize junior fullback Cody Chase and sophomore superbacks Brett Garst and Logan Graham in their offensive schemes. In the last 6 seasons, Lake Forest has faltered against Ripon, going 2-4 in that time span. That includes a 27-7 loss last year. The Redhawks are led by all-time winningest coach in Midwest Conference history, Ron Ernst. Last season, Ripon went 4 for 5 against the Foresters on 4th downs, and although they were held to 38% efficiency on 3rd downs, to be successful against the Redhawks this year, Lake Forest will have to stop them on both 3rd downs and 4th downs alike. As a group, Ripon's defense isn't very experienced, but you certainly shouldn't count them out from giving a good fight against the Forester offense. On this week's 1st and 10 player profile, I sat down with senior defensive lineman Keegan McKenna to discuss how he got involved with Lake Forest, his role among the defensive line group, and his Chicago Cubs fandom. Thanks so much for joining me, Keegan.
No problem. It's good to be here.
You're in your senior year here at Lake Forest College. In what ways have you grown here?
Lake Forest College really taught me how to keep on going, once things get tough. Coach K has done a lot of things for us that put us through a lot of physical and mental stress, and he's really taught us just to keep on pushing, and it's all made us stronger. In the end game, he's not teaching us, skills on the football field. He's teaching us, once we graduate, to put those skills into, the business world or wherever we want to put our careers and just keep on pushing no matter how hard it gets.
What's your personal relationship with Coach Myers?
Coach Myers, he's like a second dad to us. He keeps us sane throughout the season. He keeps us positive, and he's just one of those guys that you can go up to and just know he'll give you a straight up answer. He's a real strong figure on this team for the defensive line.
Your opponent next week, their offense runs a triple option. Have you seen that before in both your high school and collegiate career, and how have you planned for it?
I've seen it before in my high school career, and we pretty much playing the same that we do right now in college. Tackle the dive for the D-line, and everyone has to play their assignment and do their job in order to be successful against their offense.
Coming from the area, you have a lot of experience playing against some of your teammates. Did you have prior relationships with some of your teammates here?
The only guys I played against in high school was Will Danner when he went to Wakanda, and Josh Jones and Alex Pazwitz when he went to Zion. I only played them once my sophomore year, and then Danner I played all 4 years of my high school career. And I didn't really know them on a personal level, but when we came to Lake Forest College, it was kind of like the first things we talked about were those games.
Your defensive line teammate, Tim Finucane, he's a huge White Sox fan, and you yourself have admitted you're a big North Side Cubs fan. Do you ever talk about the rivalry together? Have you ever gone to a game together?
I will never go to a game with Tim Finucane because it'll just end up in a fight. We argue every day about it, and the only comment I have about this is that, Tim, the White Sox aren't playing tonight, and you have a whole off season to watch.
You mentioned in week 1 of Forester Focus when I was doing an interview with Tim Finucane that the defensive line was one of the more tightly knit groups among the football team. How do you feel that relationship's grown even throughout this season?
I say it gets stronger every day. I mean, we love each other. We're with each other every day. It feels like I'm with them every single day, and for 24/7. And these are just a group of guys that I've just learned to love every day, constantly. I would do anything for these guys, and they would do anything for me. And a lot of coaches know we're probably one of the bigger goofball groups on the team. And the coaches come to a point where they understand that's how we're always going to be. And mostly we're so goofy because we can tolerate each other, and because we're that close of friends, and we just love screwing with each other.
You're from Lindenhurst, and your parents obviously come to a few games there. Will your parents be in attendance for homecoming this week?
My parents will be at homecoming, yeah. They'll be cheering.
Thanks so much, Keegan.
Thanks.
It's no secret that head coach Jim Canzero is a busy man, And unfortunately, this week we weren't able to conduct our weekly interview with him. But in lieu of him, we were able to talk with cornerbacks coach, special teams coordinator, and recruiting coordinator for Lake Forest, Coach Luke Butts. Thank you so much for filling in for Coach Catanzaro.
Pete, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Ripon receivers Cameron Migron and Zach Reinhart, your cornerbacks will be tasked with covering them. Although Ripon tends to run the ball with their offense, do you have your cornerbacks kind of cheating over towards away from them?
They've really got one main responsibility this week. They've got to stay deep. Ripon is one of those teams that's going to grind at you with the run game, but definitely looks to exploit you in the pass game with big plays. Chase, Trevor, Corey, Riri, whoever it ends up being, just got to stay disciplined, stay deep, and like everybody, just do their job. Do their job, and we should be fine. Like I said, their big plays can come in the run game. They definitely have those, but they look to make explosive plays in the pass game. And our guys just got to stay disciplined, do their job, and be up to the challenge.
Last year against Ripon, you started slow. And how have you worked this year with players and coaches alike to start out faster and set the tone?
And that's really kind of building off the last two games that we've played. We definitely haven't come out with the tempo, the speed, the physicality that we want to from the opening kick. This week in practice, maybe in terms of past years against Ripon, we're keeping a lot of the same principles. But ultimately, it's just about getting on guys, playing and play out. We take the 1-0 mentality week to week. But really, when we're in practice, it's play to play. You got to execute, do your job, and come out with the violence, the physicality, and the tempo that's needed to be successful. Our scout team did a great job all week prepping for these guys. They're not going to be obviously at the same speed. Ripon's going to be, play one. And that's okay. We warned our guys today during film meetings, guys, it's going to take about a series, maybe two series to kind of get used to their speed, their tempo of it. But if you do your job, and you play with a little sense of urgency, we like our chances moving on towards the later part of the game. But absolutely, we've got to, whether we're on kickoff return, that's really our first opportunity to make an impact and truly set the tempo for this homecoming game coming up this Saturday.
Special teams is has been one of the better areas for Lake Forest this year.
Yep.
And you obviously lead that group.
Yep.
How's it working with similar players from last year, but also taking in a good amount of freshmen to work with the special teams group? Yeah,
I mean, we're pretty fortunate that on our special teams units, we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of special teams reps for us. Where it comes up, where we see the game plan, they see it, and they're like, "Coach, yep, I already got it." And that's good. But we've got a lot of young, hungry guys right now that are stepping up. Johnny LaPonte this past week played well for us. Chris Adamwande got some of his first snaps on special teams, played really well for us as well. Both those guys account for some blocks. But ultimately, there's one thing that I'm priding ourselves on, and the one thing that I've harped on ever since our first special teams meeting of the year. We've got to play fast, and we've got to play physical. Our schemes are going to be our schemes. We're going to keep it simple for the kids. And they've just got to play, man. It's get after it. We kind of changed up our goals at the beginning of the year. One of the things I thought was important, we used to have a big hits chart for our goals per game. We don't need big hits. We need guys doing their job, but doing it with an attitude that we want on our special teams. So one of our goals from big hits went to just being more physical than our opponent. And it's one thing I think that we've really just prided ourselves on, but even if we're wrong, but we're playing physical in that phase of the game, that we can be pretty successful. So knock on wood, our guys have rose to the challenge week in and week out so far. But Ripon got us in special teams last year. It was part of the reason we started slow in that game. We've talked to them all week about that. We hope it gets corrected. And, obviously 2 o'clock we'll find out on Saturday here at Farwell Field.
Personally, I believe that you could, in some ways, credit Ripon for you coaching cornerbacks, as you started out as a cornerback in the first game of your freshman year. Then in the second game you played Ripon. One of your safeties on the team wasn't doing so well, so you moved to safety. You played safety for the rest of your 4-year career. How was it like transitioning from cornerback to safety and then becoming a cornerbacks coach after your departure here?
Yeah, well, from the way I played the game, playing corner, I loved it because as a freshman I was seeing the field. Kind of my bread and butter, what I really prided myself on was just getting to the football. And being a safety, you're allowed to have a little bit more frequency to do that. And so really grateful for that opportunity. And once I was kind of there, I wanted to make it mine. You know what I mean? And it was just fun. It's a fun position. You've got a lot of responsibility. You got to do a lot of things, and it's just something that I took pride in being able to do. And thankful for that, for my coaches, for my teammates, all that good stuff. Transitioning, I coached outside linebackers for a year down in Kentucky. Came back up here, and Coach Kett's like, well, what do we kind of do? I said, you're the man. They already had Coach McNulty, who's now the head coach at Warren Township High School, was the safeties coach at the time, and kind of had those guys rolling. And I said, Coach, wherever corner safeties, I don't care. I'm coming back. I'm coming back to coach with you, coach with everybody else, and I'll coach the corners. And it was really good that first year coaching the corners. We had Eddie Dobrning and Nick Waters, were two kids that I played with that played at corner when I was playing at safety here at Lake Forest. Guys that really knew what the heck they were doing when I got here. And so luckily for me, it made my job easy, which obviously as a coach is a nice thing. But also from that relationship of knowing them as a player and them knowing me as a coach now and all that kind of stuff, very respectful of it. And I just try to keep pushing them hard, to kind of get better. Over the last couple, seasons, though, after those guys graduated, we've played a lot of young guys. Chase, Trevor, Jenry, whoever it's been. And we've played a lot of young guys. For me, it's been fun because you really me personally, I've really kind of gotten to mold those guys into what I want them to be as, Forester football players. So it's been a fun opportunity to kind of shift back to that, have those young guys, and just try to make sure they're always competing, and getting better, obviously. So from that aspect, my heart's always going to be a safety guy. It's just kind of who I am in my DNA. But obviously, being in the secondary, it's all good fun.
You spent 8 years total, both as a player and a coach at Lake Forest.
Yep.
What's the difference between being a player and being a coach? Is there sometimes as a coach where you say, I didn't like when my coach did this, or I liked when he did this, I'm going to use some of that? And as a player, did you ever think about, if I coach, am I going to do this differently? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Coach Park, when I had him, my personality and his personality are a little bit different. I'm much more of a, the kids can make fun of me and all that kind of stuff. I'm a fiery individual, and I want the guys playing hard. And that's the way I played as a player. So from that aspect, I think there's natural carryover from how I was as a player to how I am as a coach. The big thing being at Lake Forest, I kind of joke with the kids, but I'm really not joking. As a player, we push the kids hard. It's never going to be easy. Winning football games isn't easy. So from that aspect, it's always a challenge. And you go through long days in camp, you go through long days in the week, you got to go to the classroom, all that kind of stuff. And one thing you don't really appreciate until you become a coach, you're putting in 14, 15-hour days. I mean, more than what they are. And, some of them that kind of get it matured a little bit and say, Coach, how you doing with it, this, that, and the other. It's just the long days, but the fact of the matter is that we're passionate about football. We're doing what we love, and we're hoping to make an impact, obviously, on Saturdays this fall, but obviously in their next 40 years. But from a coaching standpoint, there's going to be some fire with it.
One of your other roles in Lake Forest that I mentioned earlier is you're the recruiting coordinator.
Yep.
What's it like traveling? You have your designated posts are kind of in Central Southern Illinois, St. Louis, California, other places like that. What's it like traveling all across the area, all across the United States, really, to find players?
Yeah, I definitely, it's fun, and the big thing about it for us is that's who we are. We definitely, Lake County and the state of Illinois is a priority for us, absolutely 100%. But for us in recruiting, we know that we've got to find the right fits for Lake Forest. And from that aspect, we've got to go coast to coast, California, Arizona, everywhere on the West Coast, all the way down to Florida, and the East Coast prep schools up to New York, whatever the case may be. So we've got to find those guys. We're all going to be spread out in different areas as coaches. But week in and week out during the season, everything else, you're on campus. You're at your office, you're at your desk. I don't think I could do the traveling thing full time like some people do. But to kind of break up the monotony of always being in front of a computer and getting to travel a little bit and wear the Forester logo, meet coaches around the country, and really just kind of spread the word about what Coach Kett's bringing here with his leadership at Lake Forest, kind of the direction we're going, what kind of kids we're looking for, and do they have any fits for us? That's priority number one for us. are you the right fit? Don't get to it. We want good football players, you know what I mean? But we want good, high-character kids that are going to be accountable and that are going to work hard.
Being coaches and players from all across the country, you got to do that exact thing over the summer when you had your high school football camp, where you had coaches all across the country, D1, D2, D3. You had coaches from Iowa, Cornell, Yale. What's it like meeting those coaches, those who go these prestige schools, and also these players who are coming from Arizona, California, all across the country to be here. What's it like?
It's fun, and from us, from an exposure standpoint, we were over 300 registered kids for this camp, and it's kind of become the nature of the beast with the summer stuff. Is everybody's looking to go to this camp, everybody's going to look at this camp, they want to get eyes on them by this coaching staff, whatever. For us, it's just fun from the perspective of that we got to teach, Lake Forest College coaches got to teach and got to coach 300 plus kids by what we do at Lake Forest and what we're looking for in kids. You go to all these other camps and I'm just kind of a bystander seeing what's going on. In this camp here, I've got 50 DBs and I'm coaching, and obviously it's a lot of fun with that, to finally not be on the outskirts of it, but be kind of hands-on with it and try to make kids better. And one thing with our camp, and we stress to the other coaches that come, is we want kids to learn something. We're going to evaluate them no matter what, and obviously for us, we want to see game tape as well. But we're going to evaluate them out there, but we want them to take something from our camp back home with them, even if it might not be what their coaches do, some little tidbit that's going to make them a better football player their senior or junior year.
Well, one of the places I got my start really with Lake Forest College was at that camp. I didn't, coming from Lake Forest, I didn't really have too much involvement with the college here. But I arrived there completely overwhelmed, youngest person there. A sweltering hot day.
It was hot.
It was very hot. You had your bucket hat on. I had a flimsy little Red Sox hat on or something. I was doused with sunscreen, so much sunscreen. And it was, seeing, players and media members, coaches I had seen on TV, seen all over Twitter, things like that. And one of the things I really remember was I was on the sidelines getting water, overwhelmed. You came up to me and said, hey, bud, shook my hand. It was, really great, to be welcomed there in a place where I didn't know too many faces. Thank you for that also. But in your time here, you've had multiple homecomings, both as a player and a coach. It must be interesting seeing, because it's such a tightly knit, university, and with a lot of students and players and coaches as well from with families around the area. What's it like just seeing players rekindle with families, maybe family friends, even, and seeing your parents all the time. What's that experience like every year?
Well, homecoming's fun. It really is. As coaches, as players, you don't get to experience what homecoming that everybody else gets to experience. Our kids, they got their pep rally tonight, some different things with homecoming. For us as coaches, our minds, guys, it's a game. It's a game we've got to go out and execute because of who we're playing against. It's just another game where we get a chance to go 1-0. But from the homecoming perspective, one of the great things about Lake Forest College is our alumni network. When kids come back to it, it's unbelievable. Our alumni that come back on homecoming, that send out the text messages, that say hi, that cheer from the stands, that do everything. One, me as a coach, I don't get a lot of free time to see a lot of those guys that I played with or that I knew or whatever. Most of them are coming back during homecoming. And whether it's pregame, whether it's after game, whatever, I at least get a chance to catch up with them. So from that aspect, it's good. But I really think you see the tremendous buy-in of the things that we're doing here with homecoming. You look at the guys that have graduated in the last 10 years, the number of guys that will come back for homecoming say nothing but great things about what we're doing, about the coaching staff, about the players. I think it speaks volumes of the things that that we've got going on here. And from that aspect, it's obviously a lot of fun. And shout out to Coach Dow. He's obviously had a lot more homecomings here than I have. Being in his room here for this interview, and also another special homecoming for him. The Forrester Impact Award will be awarded to his wife this weekend, Paula. So that'll also be a fun thing in itself for homecoming. It's just fun to get all the alumni back. It really is. And like I said, I think the big thing, it just speaks volumes about their experience here. They enjoyed it, and that they just are willing to keep coming back and see everybody. And like you said, the tight knit of it, I really think it speaks to that.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this week, Coach. This is definitely one of the more interesting, and I got a lot more out of you sometimes than I got with Coach Katz, so we might have to make this a weekly thing now.
We'll figure it out. I appreciate the time, man. Thank you. You're doing great work.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.